Hey, I told you I had somebody a superhero coming through. This is our special edition, 1 o'clock, and I just can't thank you all for connecting with Community Strong for Jackson MS. There would be no me without you all. We're almost at 3,000 strong. Be sure to join the group, Community Strong for Jackson MS, Community Conversations on Thursday evening at 7 o'clock, and on Sundays, 9, 10:30. And also be sure that you have a story inside of yourself and someone needs to hear it. So we always invite you all to please call 601-937-5671 and share your story. All right, let me turn that down. We're good to go. And if you have any questions, we're being nice. It's not a political conversation. This is a human relation conversation. So please, if you have a question, put it in the comments. And I also got my main man, Mr. Bill Washington, another superhero in the city. He's in the building too. All right, we're going to play our little theme music.
Unity, love,
see if we get Mr. DePriest to bob his head a little bit.
Hey, everybody. Hey, we got something to say. Listen. Hey, we got something to say. Listen.
Community conversation with Community Strong for Jackson MS.
Hey, we got something to say. Hey, we got something to say.
I'm gonna get Mr. DePriest to do a little reading for us so you can put a little love on this evening. All right. Visions Unlimited Studio with the Z, 601-937-5671. Got Brother Broganfield in the background. Producer is Snow with no W, moving Southern styles. You need a theme song, some music for your podcast or just your shows or whatever you got going on, be sure to reach out to them. All right. Mr. DePriest, if you would be so kind as to introduce yourself and let them know what superhero we got on the couch with us this afternoon.
Far from a superhero, but I'm Rodney DePriest. I am a candidate for mayor. Looking forward to everybody voting on June 3rd, but I look forward to having a conversation about our community today.
And I want to thank the Bill Washington and also Mr. DePriest, because we have really been working on getting him here with all the things that he's got going on in his schedule. Hold on, this Coach Obesi.
Yes, sir, Cole. All right, Coach.
You know what Mr. DePriest told me? He said, I really don't want to talk to you. What Coach Obesi is? So, hold on just a minute. Let me put this camera on Coach, on Mr. DePriest. But he said it with a smile. You know, when a man's smiling at you, then you know you're in the right space at the right time. So I'm going to let Mr. DePriest talk to the audience until I get right back at the door. All right, go right ahead. First of all, I done slipped. I told Miss White I wouldn't have him on the camera, but the man's so clean. He beyond church clean, so I had to slip him in there. Would you please just let the people know what you got going on and why Rodney DePriest has stepped off the couch to come do some more work? Because you could be somewhere sitting down. Go right ahead, sir.
All right. Thank you, Howard. I appreciate the chance to be here and appreciate folks listening. We, like I said, Rodney DePriest, 30-year resident of Jackson. Spent the first 10 years of my life in Jackson, and then my family moved to Clinton. And then 20 years ago, my wife and I and 2 sons moved back to Jackson. Jackson's just home to us. Becky, my wife, grew up in South Jackson on Woody Drive and Wingfield High School graduate. I graduated from Clinton High School. And after that, went to Mississippi College, got my degree in business, major in accounting, and started a construction company that I ran for a little over 20 years. And then from there, Trustmark Bank contacted me in 2012, and I joined them in a role where I could manage their construction, real estate development, things such as that. And then also had the opportunity to serve on the Board of Aldermen in Clinton, elected in 1993, and served 2 terms there, which is a very formative part of my life. A great time to learn more about municipal government, to see municipal government well, and I look forward to have the opportunity to bring some of what I learned, primarily about the relationships between a mayor and a council. I look forward to being able to bring that to Jackson.
One of our forwards is networking, and we find it to be very relevant that we know how to come out and build relationships and nurture relationships. Can you give us a little insight on relationships?
I'm a firm believer in trust takes time, and we have to be willing to invest the time to build that trust. And you know, when I started my journey in Jackson started about 4 years ago after I had left Trustmark Bank. Quite honestly, just a spiritual prompting from the Lord that it was time for me to leave, and He had something else for me. And violence in Jackson got me started, and so relationships with a pastor in Boston who had dealt with violence there got me moving down this journey. And in talking to him of, I'm a 58-year-old white guy. Then I was a 55-year-old white guy.
Okay.
And trying to figure out, okay, well, you know, I felt like I needed to earn the right to be part of a solution. I just couldn't just show up and act like somebody ought to listen to me, because I really didn't feel like they should. And what Reverend Brown recommended to me was, said, Rodney, you know, what I refer to is just a ministry of presence. Mm-hmm. Just be present. Just consistently show up. And I've had the privilege of doing that for almost 4 years now, and it has been the blessing of my life, building those relationships and listening a whole lot and not talking very much at all.
Mm-hmm. We call that active listening, and my profession is a therapist, and that's very important that when you actively listen, you don't listen just for your own mindset or your own ideas, but you always gather the understanding of the person that you're talking to. So that's how we met.
That's exactly right.
That's how we met. Basically, just me working with young men, and I would bring them to different prayer breakfasts and other events. And this guy will always show up. And I'm like, who is this here? He's a speck out of all the black guys. He's sitting right here.
He said it was white now. I find that hard to believe. It was in a circle with a bunch of black guys.
And guess what, though? He knew how to speak our language. And that was like, wow. But this guy, you know, so I was curious. You know, curiosity helps you a lot. And it transformed to really, when I watched him engage the young black boys, and it was like you was engaging your own children. And when I saw that, I said, this is a very sincere person, because everybody put us on air, especially when they doing this politics run. But even this before that. So I like the consistency of making sure that you building that relationship by just listening. Because those boys, I tell you, they have a lot of energy.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, so that's very important.
Mr. DePriest, we've got some little rules there on the back of the promo flyer. If you'd be so kind as to remind us of the. Oh, by the way, Coach Obesi been out on the water. He always darting out the city and don't tell nobody, nor does he invite anybody. But I see he brought the missus with him, but I can still smell C on him, S-E-A, in these different countries he's been in. So we want to thank you for taking time out of your day to run on up in here.
Yes, sir.
With the JSU gear on, and you got a shirt that says "Drugs is the what?"
It's drugs is
the
modern day slavery.
And what do you mean by drugs is the modern day slavery?
It could be. It's not just drugs that you abuse, but also the drug of the mind. Sometimes we have complacency. That could be a modern day slavery. Social media could be a modern day slavery. Anything that you would look to be something that you would say, this is my vice. This is what controls me instead of God is a drug. And these drugs are very addictive.
Do you think, I hear a lot of our leaders say the word change as opposed to adjust. Do you think change could possibly be a drug to those of us that don't want to participate in the electoral process?
Change is like a choice.
Okay.
Okay, so we say change is a choice, right? And then when you participate, that's what we call a decision. There's a difference. I can choose to wear these shoes. Guess what? That's a choice. But if I decide that I'm gonna wear these shoes with these little cushions in it to make me walk more better and be more efficient, that's a decision. I chose to say that I want to be a person that's gonna be an advocate, but I decided to get married. And when I decided, I made a commitment. And that's what has to happen with the political process. We have to stop making choices, because choices, you can say it's based on your feelings. But when you decide to do something, you're going to make sure you're going to protect it with your life.
Mr. DePriest, I want to compliment you. I've watched you in several forums. I've watched you in debates. And your facial expressions, because I'm looking beyond the conversation.
Yes.
And you've always got that same pleasant smile. You have it right now today. Why is it that you're able to maintain that pleasantry in this journey of what we call the electoral process?
Well, I'm glad to hear that you see that, because I don't necessarily always feel that. So I will say I'm in this electoral process. It's a faith journey for me. It's a journey of obedience. It's a journey that almost exactly a year ago right now is when God put it on my heart. Some pastors were praying for me about the decision, my wife and I. And anytime you feel like you're walking the path the Lord has for you, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, it's easier to keep a smile on your face.
Okay. Well, hey, we're going to rock with that. Would you please be so kind as to share the focus and also the purpose?
Knowing community now, people, persons, individuals, events, opportunities, organizations, agencies, businesses, movements. Community is family, church, school, university. Purpose, purpose, inform, educate, inspire, stimulate, engage. Through sharing and conversation, reflecting genuine love for community, emphasizing joy, fun, experiences, living life on life terms, no shaming, no blaming, energy, passion, compassion, empathy, sympathy, failures, successes, lift, and steadfastness. Get up off the couch and do some work.
Work.
All right.
I want to resonate that work.
Look out now. Would you please be so kind as to give some of these highlights
Okay.
of a gentleman that's putting in the work in our community?
Well, let me see. It's a lot of highlights here.
Should we let our superhero do the prayer for us right quick?
Yes, let's do the
Let's see
prayer.
what's going on the inside.
Yeah, we got
Would
to.
you lead us in
I want my
prayer,
bells
please,
to be filled, man.
Man, you know I've been pulled all week this week.
Yes.
Would you please lead us, sir?
I'd be glad to. Lord, how amazing it is that the God that created all we know and see and experience and touch hears our prayers, knows us intimately. And Lord, we just pray that you'll be with us as we have a conversation, as we discuss our community, and just pray that the words of our mouth will be honoring to you in your precious Son's name.
Yes. Amen. Amen.
All right, Coach, what we got next?
My vessel's filled now.
Okay.
All right. So this is really important because the background information is important. But before the background information is important, is what this young man, I say young man, he is looking to dedicate himself to. So the first thing he wants to do is he wants to have a safe city. Say, I'll implement violence intervention strategies by collaborating with local organizations, the faith-based, and law enforcement. Will identify the smaller number of offenders responsible for most gun violence and offer assistance to those who want to change. That's one, a safe city. Second, restoring infrastructure. I'll prioritize and invest in the street improvement and traffic signals. I'll establish a working relationship with Jackson Water to ensure we have a voice in future management of these critical systems. Work is restoring infrastructure. Next, job creation and training. I'll collaborate with local businesses, nonprofits, and educational institutions to offer a job, skill, mentoring, and career readiness programs with an emphasis on underserved populations or areas. Now, the third one, beautification and blight elimination. I'll work with our legislative delegation to streamline processes and seek funding for blight elimination. I also collaborate with nonprofit organizations and grassroots efforts to ensure neighborhood cleanup. And then the last one, creating home ownership opportunities. I'll work with local financial institutions and nonprofits to offer workshops and resources for budgeting, mortgages, and credit health to prepare individuals for successful home ownership. This is really important. If this is just some points that he's dedicated to.
And Mr. DePriest, I've heard you say two things, not two things, but two items on a list of many items that really resonate with what needs to occur in the city of Jackson. I know one is crime.
Violence and infrastructure.
Ooh,
It's going to drive everything.
Okay, would you please elaborate on that for us?
Well, I mean, we know our residents deserve a certain quality of life, but to have that quality of life, we have to have economic development. We have to have adequate jobs.
Okay.
And as long as businesses are impacted by infrastructure failures, as long as businesses, customers don't If the customers and employees don't feel safe,
Yes.
we're not going to have the reinvestment in our city that we have to have. It's just absolutely required.
So who are those two people that have to feel safe on a day-to-day basis?
Customers, employees.
Wow.
You got to better recruit good talent, and if customers aren't walking in your door, you're not going to be there long.
Not administrators, but customers.
That's it.
And employees.
And employees.
Okay. Keep teaching this. I got to chill just then, Coach.
Well, also that word collaboration, when you was working on the things you're dedicated with. So how would you collaborate the customers, employees, to make sure that are feeling safe, and they make sure the infrastructure is in place so they can feel safe?
Well, on the violence part of it, which is really what got me moving around Jackson.
Okay.
And Coach, I don't know if you were at Pastor Divinity's church the weekend that Reverend Jeffrey Brown out of Boston came down here to see us.
Yes.
Reverend Brown, this was 25 years ago, led a group of pastors' effort to deal with youth violence in Boston, and that's what got me started when I saw. And they had some horrendous events in Boston that motivated the pastors basically to get out of the four walls of the church.
That's right.
They started in the schools, which is a worthy thing, but they soon realized the people they needed to be talking to weren't in school. And these pastors hit the streets of Boston from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. in the most violent areas of Boston. And he said, Rodney, we did what not many preachers know how to do. We quit preaching and we started listening. And we had a consistent presence.
Right.
And so that effort there led to trust between the pastors and gang leaders, pastors and drug dealers, so that they were in the position where they were able to negotiate settlements between gangs, to have meetings where you have law enforcement on one side of the table and drug dealers on the other side of the, just genuinely having conversations. And it sounds simplistic, but if we will talk more, we're going to understand more, and we're going to find out there's fewer and fewer things that actually separate us.
Right.
And through that, they had a 79% reduction in youth violence. Boston went 24 months without a single youth murder. 24 months.
Yeah, that's
24 months.
24 months. And in 2021, when Jackson had the worst year from a murder rate standpoint, 160 murders. Boston had 40. Boston has a population of 650,000. At that point, Jackson was, give or take, 145, 150. And so our per capita murder rate was 16 times that of Boston. And so there are strategies that work. I tell people all the time, I'm not the new idea guy that often, but I'm really good at seeing things that have worked. And we have to apply it to Jackson and try it. And so these pastors and another group, National Network for Safe Communities out of John Jay College in New York, they have implemented these strategies across the country. And it's making a difference. We can do the same here.
It sounds like that would be, so when we come into office, when we take office, July, 1st, 2nd, July?
Yeah, 3rd maybe. It's right. Yeah, the first few days of July.
Is your first action to curtail or get involved? You're already involved in the violence, and that says a whole lot about a man that didn't have to even walk that path. So why are you so not attracted but so drawn to the violence? It doesn't affect you.
I think it's a God-given concern, quite honestly. And one of the I recently read a book, and this resonated with me. It's Fighting Shadows, and one of the chapters, a quote was made that we have to move beyond the boundaries of our own concern.
We
have to move beyond the boundaries of our own concern. Okay.
And I have frequently, I live in North Jackson, and I've been telling my neighbors and friends for 2 or 3 years now. Every time something happens on East Northside Drive, everybody gets up in arms.
Yes.
Well, it's happening on East Northside Drive because we didn't care enough when it was happening on West Northside Drive. And so, let's move beyond what just concerns us. And that I don't care if it's violence, crime, infrastructure. I don't care if it's just picking up trash. If my street is clean, why don't I go help somebody who needs some help on their street? And if we're going to bring this city back with any pace at all, expeditiously at all, it's all hands on deck, and it will be a community effort because City Hall will not fix Jackson by itself.
He didn't use the word try.
No,
why didn't you use it? How do you feel about the word try? Try. We're going to try to do something. You didn't use that word in your explanation or your vision.
I didn't, because I think we're going to have degrees of success. Even if it doesn't go beautifully, we're going to be better. And every time we do more, there are going to be more people willing to join us. And even if it's a small group that buys in.
Well, the word try is really important. And a lot of times when we use that word, it's subconsciously used in our mind, right? And so I've always come up with a slogan that says, don't think, don't try, just do. Don't think, don't try, just do. Don't think, don't try, just do. Once you get past that, then renew. So that is what really helped me to understand a lot what you're talking about in philosophy of collective collaboration. So all of us collaborating to have an opportunity to solve the problems together instead of just one person looking for all the answers to come out one person to make it happen. That's not realistic.
Well, Coach, right here. My fault.
No, go ahead.
No, sir.
Well, and one of the, these group violence strategies, and there are a lot of them out there, and I'm not saying the one I'm most familiar with is the one that it has to be.
Yes, sir.
But I will give Chief Wade credit that
I would too.
JPD no longer works in a silo.
Yes, sir.
JPD is cooperating with other local agencies, state agencies, federal agencies, and that's the strategy that has worked across the country. But the key component that we need to get better at in Jackson, we hear a lot about community policing. And community policing, typically what we talk about is the police officer out of their car, walking the street, shooting some hoops, talking to somebody on the front porch.
Sir.
But my idea of community policing is when the community becomes the partner for police. Wow. And that's what has worked. And that's when the faith community steps up and gets outside the four walls of the church and engages these young people. Because if we want to pull them out of violence, pull them out of crime, you can't leave a void. You have to backfill it with something.
You got to.
And whether it's the faith community, community service groups, quite honestly, workforce development, there's so many opportunities there. And when these strategies have been applied across the country, it has been effective. And David Kennedy is the director of the National Network for Safe Communities, criminal justice professor. They had written plans on violence for years and finally decided we need to implement what we're writing about and find out whether or not this stuff works.
Yeah.
Well, they were on the streets of Boston at the same time the pastors were.
Okay.
So I started looking and said, well, this is the key. And Kennedy has a saying that we're going to help you if you let us. We're going to stop you if you don't. And the number,
yes,
the goal is pull people out of violence. And in the cities where this has been effectively implemented, and then they have what it takes to stick to it, you've had drastic reduction in violence, but you've also had a reduction in the rate of incarceration. So we all know if incarceration made you safe, we'd already be there.
Now, when I think of Boston, I think of the Boston Celtics.
Okay.
I think of a community that's lily white. They got that kind of crime going on up in Boston.
They absolutely did. And they did. Now, and of course, I want to be clear. What they did 25 years ago. Now, and in conversation with pastors in Boston, they'll say, when we had 150 murders, it was really easy to have all hands on deck. When it gets down to 30, we kind of took our eye off the ball.
Yes.
And it started coming back. And so it's the determination and the focus to stay on it and stay with it. Consistently, absolutely.
Okay, Coach, we got a little mind food there. We don't want to sound too political. I like the way our superhero reads. Hold on just a moment. And Mr. DePriest, what you can do is
I may have to put my glasses on for
we
this.
We had another gentleman. I think James Hopkins came and he said, I don't want you thinking I cannot read. It's just I don't have my reading glasses. I was sitting there like, brother, you killing me. I need to help you with the words. He said, I just can't see the page.
I got my glasses. Okay. We're good.
All right, and as you read it, because it's so dense, you can break it apart because it's a reflection. So as you read it, if you see something, just reflect on it for us.
As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. Genesis 50:20. That's a lot to unpack right there.
Go ahead and give us a reflection.
Go ahead, reflection. Yes.
Well, I mean, the folks that do take shots at us, the folks, and often it's not really a personal shot. It's just the naysayer who's not willing to get out there and try. They're just going to tell you what's wrong with what you're trying to do.
Not doing the work.
And they're just trying to pull something down rather than, okay, I'm the first to admit everything I try is not going to work the way I thought it would. But we're going to try. We're going to learn from it. We're going to adjust, and we're going to make it better next time. And you know, having spent my career in construction, you know, I'm all about assessing a problem, developing a plan, implementing that plan, most often finding out the plan wasn't perfect. We've got to make some adjustments, but then you see it through to completion. And, you know, in the contractor world, until you get what they call substantial completion and finish your punch list, you don't get all your money.
Wow.
So, you know, we know what it takes to finish. And also often, all too often in Jackson, we might get it announced, we might get it started, but seeing through to completion has been a failure. I'll move on. There are moments when betrayal cuts deep. Wow. When pain becomes personal, when it seems like darkness is winning. People may lie about you, abandon you, hurt you without reason. Your faith is tested. And it's in those moments you might wonder, where is God in all of this?
And before you reflect, I haven't heard any negativity on Rodney DePriest. I haven't heard any. I haven't seen any from our keyboard warriors. Proceed, sir.
Well,
that says a whole lot.
And I'll
in Jackson.
When I got started in this process,
yes, sir.
You know, I'm not the political guy. I did serve on board of Alderman Clinton 30 years ago, so it's not like I haven't done anything.
Yes, sir.
But those around me said, well, Rodney, you just got to go ahead and air all your dirty laundry early. Just go ahead and put it out there. And my response is, I'm a really boring dude. You know, I've been married to my wife for 38 years, and she's still my girlfriend.
Okay.
I started dating her when I was 14 years old.
Oh, wow. Go ahead.
So high school sweetheart. And I've been blessed with a over 30-year business career where we successfully finished things and built relationships and had repeat projects and repeat customers. So there hadn't been a whole lot of those shots taken.
Those moments?
Gotcha. Yeah. Just hadn't dealt with a whole lot
I mean,
of
you
that.
got a lot of happy consumers and customers out there, don't you?
Well, it led to a successful business career,
Okay.
no doubt about it.
Okay, that's one client that they say the best word of advertising is the people that you serve.
The people that you serve and the phone ringing and because I'm not, I'm the introverted person. I don't get out and push myself and market myself. That's why a campaign is uncomfortable for me, but I love doing the work.
Gotcha.
I just love doing the work.
All right.
Moving on, but then somehow you're still standing after we've experienced some of that pain. God's grace proves to be sufficient. His power is made perfect in your weakness. I mean, what are we? I mean, we're fallen, we're broken, we're unworthy, but for the redemption that God provided for us.
But God.
But God. And I would not be in this race. But God. And I'm very clear to everybody. I'm not one of those people said, God told me to run. God told me I'd be mayor. No. God clearly led my wife and I in this path, but he didn't begin to tell me I was going to be the mayor. This is a journey of obedience.
Yes.
And we get to trust God for the outcome.
Wow. Journey of obedience.
Obedience. Define obedience for us. From a child to a parent and from a person to community. Child to a parent.
Child to a parent.
Yes, sir. And from community to community. Is that okay, Coach?
You said person to the community.
Person to community. Okay.
Yeah.
Child to a parent, parent to a child, and then a person to community.
Yes.
Well, I think we all have to acknowledge there are authorities in our life.
Yes.
And the ultimate authority in my life is the good Lord. And that's where I strive, although I missed the mark and I'm falling. And so that obedience and that it's just like the child looking to the parent. You know, I mean, we often refer to God as Father. Well, I had a youth minister one time. Well, you don't call your dad Father, so just refer to him as Dad.
Okay.
Daddy God. And so, what do you have for me? What's your instruction? What have you taught me? And then just taking those steps, knowing we're not going to be perfect, but just taking the steps as best we understand them, and then knowing that that when we get off, a loving parent, a loving God helps us get back on track.
Powerful.
I want to interject that when you said that from the parent style. How many children do you have?
I have 2 sons.
So from that perspective as a parent, have you taken that same approach?
Oh, I would be a far better parent now than I was at 30 years old when I was thrown into that role. You know, there's no doubt. Fortunately, they seem to have turned out well. I don't see too much collateral damage from Rodney having been dad.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Now, if they were on the couch, they may have a different
Yes,
story.
have a different conversation.
You know, I just don't know. But yeah, it's just it's a blessing to be dad. It's a blessing to be husband. And I'm still kind of thinking through that whole obedience question. Man, there's a lot.
Because
to
obedience
it.
is better than
Don't give us
sacrifice.
too much. I got a thick head. Let me just get a little bit.
Yeah, they
Okay.
say it's
All
better,
right,
obedience is better than sacrifice, and I know you sacrifice as a father. You know, go ahead and answer the next part of the question in terms of the community.
From a person to community.
Community.
What should obedience be for a person to community in the things that we are, the good, the bad, and the indifferences in the city of Jackson?
Yes, sir.
I think I'd go back to that quote I shared earlier, moving beyond the boundary of our own concern.
Yes, sir. That's powerful.
You know, and so
That's powerful.
if there may not be the person in the community that you look to that you're obedient to,
Okay.
but if the good of the community is what you're looking to, well, let's move past the boundary of our own concern.
Okay.
And what are those steps? And recognizing that Rodney, from his life experiences and from his perspective, won't have the full picture of any issue that we're looking at. And until I bring people with various perspectives and various life experiences into the conversation, I might have what I think's a great idea, but I'm not going to have the best solution that we could find.
Wow. Okay.
That was very profound. Yeah.
I think he's getting through my thick skull.
Yeah, he got you,
Would
Doc.
you please proceed, sir?
All right, where was I? Because what was meant for evil, did I do that part?
Go right ahead. Hit it
All
again.
right.
The first time you say something to us, we're not listening. The second time we might catch it. Number 3, we ready. Go right ahead, Mr. Priest.
Because what was meant for evil, God used for good. What was meant to break you, built you. What was meant to silence you, shaped your voice. What was meant to bury you, planted you for growth. I tell you what, what that makes me think of, and I remember a trip where I was in the Rocky Mountains with my wife and 2 sons, and we had our niece with us as well. And we were at the top of a mountain above the tree line. It was nothing but rocky and nothing growing there.
Okay.
And this is what had been poured into me. I just got to share it with them.
Yes, sir.
That if you look at that hard, rocky mountain,
Yes.
that the peak's only good for 2 things: enjoying the view or seeing where you're going next.
Okay.
But when you look where you're going next, guess where you have to go? You got to go through the valley to get there. And so when I read this, what was meant to break you, the hard times in the valley, what was meant to silence you, what was meant to bury you, planted you for growth.
Yes.
You grow in the valley. If Rodney is comfortable, if I'm sitting up there just enjoying the view, I'm not growing anymore.
Not at all.
If I'm plowing through the valley and plowing through the hard times, that's where you grow. That's where if I'm not uncomfortable, I'm not growing. We never grow when we're comfortable.
Adversity makes us grow.
Adversity makes us grow.
So the citizens, the residents, the community of Jackson has an opportunity to grow into some of their best days.
Man, we've learned some hard lessons, hadn't we? I mean, we have, but the key is let's learn from it.
Yes.
Let's grow in it.
Yes.
Let's don't think that any one of us has the perfect idea or solution.
That's right.
Wow.
And let's pull this thing together.
Before you go any further, I was gonna let Rodney DePriest read this one, but just read that right quickly, Coach.
All right.
That's a reflection of what we're hearing.
Okay.
Read
This
that
one
right
here,
quickly.
it says, the task of the leader is to get his people from where they are to where they have not been.
Hit it one more time.
The task of the leader is to get his people from where they are to where they have not been.
Brother Umar, one more time.
All right. It's Dr. Umar Johnson. All right. The task of a leader is to get his people from where they are to where they have not been. That's Harry Kissinger.
Okay. And that's what you sound like. I'm feeling you invoking that glow that you want people to be able, hey, let's go do this.
Let's go do it.
Stop questioning the fact that it's got to be done.
And I really don't want people looking to me to think I got the
gonna save
answer
us.
and
You
I
gonna
got
save
to,
us.
and
Right.
that's not it. I mean, now when I say we need more people in the conversation,
Yes, sir.
we need more people who are interested in actually accomplishing something in the conversation. This isn't going to be an open forum just for people to throw stones and criticize.
That's right. No shame, no blame.
If we've got
Yeah.
something to bring to the conversation and we're thoughtful, we're going to get something done.
Get it done.
And you know our polarized society right now, the way we operate, you know, we become a society of debate rather than conversation.
Wow. Wait. A what now?
A society of debate rather than conversation.
Wow.
And
No
in
X.
a debate, the goal is for me to win and you to lose,
That's
not
it.
to accomplish something. But my goal is to win. Your goal is to lose. And we've ended up where we have dueling monologues, but we don't have the art of conversation anymore.
So we don't have a critical conversation.
And we're afraid of uncomfortable conversations. Once again, discomfort makes you grow.
It does.
And I can't, you know, I may feel like I'm not going to agree with Howard, so I don't want to talk to him.
Wow.
How silly is that? Yeah, because in today's society, Howard and I may agree 80% of the time, but the way we're viewing things now, he's my 20% enemy. We're not celebrating the 80% that
That's
we
right.
do agree on. We're allowing the 20% to separate us. That's nonsense.
It's changing the mindset to realize that we collective. We have to look at everybody's point of views, and we have to be respectful. One of the things I do as me as being a therapist and also a human rights advocate, I always look at the people that I serve and I say, listen, I can't serve you properly if I don't see you as a mirror reflection of myself. And I'm gonna tell you, when I saw you work with my boys, because the boys I work with are very, very challenging, I saw you treat them like they was a mirror reflection of you, like they was your own children. So that what won me.
Well,
That won me.
And more than a mirror reflection of me, if we believe Genesis 1:26 and 27, that every person we engage with is made in the image of God.
Everybody, image.
So regardless of what their actions may be, regardless if we feel like they're a drag on society, regardless if we feel like they're up to some illicit activity, they're made in the image of God.
And also from a standpoint of not judging, because you have to understand that a lot of the children that I work with, they come from single parent households. They come from impoverished households, and they've been taught in different narratives about white folk. You don't do this, you don't do this. But the way you made those boys feel comfortable and unjudged and heard was very rare, because they don't think about this. What is the average young African American boy? He actually spends time with a white guy, you know, on a daily basis. So when he actually has time to spend with him, he has to see that person's character first, because he's going to automatically have this fear complex because of what society has taught them. So the narrative, you just dispel that narrative all away. So that's why I said that as far as a person understanding their community, it has to be God.
Be somebody who makes everybody feel like somebody.
Yep.
Would you continue on for us, Mr. DePriest?
Please hear me when I say this. God never wastes pain. What others meant for harm, he reroutes into purpose. Every wound has the potential to become a wellspring of wisdom. Every setback represents an opportunity to set you up for something greater by his sovereignty and goodness. Lean on him, trust him. I love this word, abide.
Abide.
Give us a reflection on the word abide.
Abide.
Just rest in him.
Yes.
Ooh, steadfast.
Just be
Unshakable,
just
unmovable.
be
Just be there.
present.
Just be present.
Be still. Just listen. Take that deep breath
Yes.
and just be there.
Coach, that's some player stuff.
Well, you know what? You know, when you listen to the inside of what's going on in your mind, it makes us understand the exterior. Because a lot of times we look at things that we see, right? But how do we actually get a chance to sit down and feel? You can't feel until you abide into the presence of God. If you feel, then you can feel what the other person's feeling like. So it relates to having that conversation versus that debate.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, I'm not a prolific reader, but fortunately around age 40, I started reading more. I started reading more and more. I wish I'd done it young, but Howard said he's got a thick head. Mine's thick too at times. But a book on leadership proverbs a pastor had written, a little short thing, and it talked about listening to the critic.
Listening to the critic, okay.
And that how hard it is to listen to the critic. But the best way to listen to the critic is don't let them throw you off. Don't let them mess you up. But listen for the kernel of truth that you may learn even when the critic's talking.
Gotcha.
Because most of the time there's going to be a little nugget there that you can learn regardless.
Gotcha.
Okay. We got another one for you, Mr. DePriest.
All right.
All right.
I feel like I'm in school.
Mr. Priest, I might have to get me a set of them kind of glad I have to do all of this. And then I got to remember where I placed them.
Well, if I don't have them around my neck, I'm going to lose them. So that's the whole reason
I'm
I have
learning now. Teach me something today.
All right. Wayfinder. It's a noun. A deeply intuitive person who has the courage to navigate through the chaos and confusion of darkness and division, who refuses to accept the dysfunction of the status quo, and who devotes their life to exploring a more joyful, harmonious, cooperative, creative, and sustainable existence on earth.
Why you to demonstrate and exemplify the better side of being a wayfinder?
Well, and the word that hits me out of this more than any of them is sustainable.
Sustainable, yes.
That's it.
He killing the mind food today.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
sustainable is it, because as Mayor of Jackson, I'm not, we're all too much about politically now that when we grab power, we bring our perspective. This is my chance. I'm doing what I want to do. And I know what that's going to happen. It's going to blow up and it's not going to be sustainable.
Yes, sir.
And so I want those who are genuinely looking to improve the community to be part of that conversation. But I said earlier, I also know City Hall can't fix Jackson alone. We got a heart problem in Jackson. We have a brokenness in Jackson, and that's where the faith community comes in.
You're putting a lot of pressure on the faith community.
I am.
You think
Yes,
they ready
you
for
are.
that pressure?
I am.
You putting you're applying pressure to the faith community.
And of course, that's pressure on me as well, because if I'm going to talk about it, we got to keep doing it, and I've got to bring more people with me.
Yes.
But the only true sustainable improvement is going to be a heart change. It's going to be things that last kingdom impact.
Okay.
Now, City Hall, I mean, don't be wrong. There's two conversations here, and my dad used to tell me all the time, well, we got to be sure somebody's not so heavenly oriented that they're no earthly good.
Heavenly oriented.
So
Heavenly
Oriented.
so heavenly oriented that they're no earthly good.
Go ahead.
So, there are very practical things at City Hall and services and all that, and that's absolutely, I mean, that's there. But if we want to pull our young people out of the violence, if we want to show them a future with a hope, it's going to have to be a spiritual message that gives them something that they can hold on to and can see a future that when they walk out the door, they don't see right now.
Right. They don't see right now.
They don't see it right now.
Right.
And for the last 3 years, Vince Gordon's a dear friend of mine.
Also, he's a friend of mine too. Awesome.
And so for the last 3 years, I've been in Jim Hill High School I can say most Friday mornings. I'm
You got a lot
able
of
to
voters
go.
in Jim Hill, don't you? Potential voters.
Potential
Yes,
voters.
sir.
Now,
Okay.
most of them are too young, so
Okay.
maybe they go
Okay.
tell their parents.
Right,
but
right. That's what the influence is.
That's it. But just being present and building those relationships, and so seeing, quite honestly, some of the trauma that our young people in Jackson are going through. And so for the last 2 summers, Becky and I, my wife, have been able to go to Young Life Camp in North Carolina with inner city Jackson students.
Wow.
And you see these young folks step off the bus. First thing they do is take their phone away from them for a whole week.
That's right. Yep.
And you watch the change that happens in a week. You pull them out of an environment that oftentimes isn't healthy. And so you just get to watch when the walls come down.
How long is that? 24 hours, 48 hours, 72
That's
hours from pulling
7
that phone?
days.
7 days.
7
No,
days.
But when can you see the adjustment or the pivot in the mindset?
Oh, it doesn't
Once
take-
you take that phone away.
It doesn't take long.
No.
Okay.
It doesn't take long. And Young Life is a whole nother conversation,
Yes.
but they're an outreach ministry, and they're great at grabbing young people right where they are, and then they kind of walk.
These grown folks grab right
They
where they
kind
are.
of walk them through the week, and you just watch the walls come down.
Wow.
Cabin time at night where you sit on
Yeah.
the floor, and you're just
You
having
share.
those hard conversations, and you're sharing. It's just
a
good
beautiful
stuff. It's beautiful.
experience.
It really is.
Let me ask the Godfather over there. We got about 18 more minutes, sir. We ready to roll, or can we get 18 more minutes? Okay.
Oh,
we
we're-
good? We good?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay. You comfortable?
Long as we talking, let's talk.
This is good. Okay. All right. Coach, so we finished with the wayfinder.
We got one more.
Okay. Now we got plenty more. We'll go right ahead. Pass that over there. I ain't gonna let you get away like that, Coach. You just getting back. Somebody said they happy to see you on the couch today.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm happy to be here.
Glad you're here. Good morning. The size of our problem is nothing as compared to our ability to solve them. But we overestimate the problems and underestimate our own ability.
Okay. Hit us in the head with something, Coach. Coach us up, Coach. We're down by 10 and we got 4
Coach,
minutes left. Coach us up, Coach.
I'm
Coach
going
Dupree.
to hit you with that we serve a God where nothing is impossible,
Nothing is impossible.
that nothing is too hard for him.
It's got to be something he pushing back on. He ain't pushing back on nothing.
The Lord?
Oh, okay. Look out. I almost messed up then.
Now, pushing back. Now, disappointed and us failing him happens all the time.
Yes, sir.
But he's that God of love. He's that God of second chances. He's that God that allowed for redemption through his son. So, I know I disappoint him every day.
Okay.
I have to. But underestimate our ability. I'm the first to admit, I even said it at one of the forums. Rodney can't do the job of mayor by himself. If I don't feel like I've been ushered into that job with the Lord having my back and this being one of those but God kind of moments,
Yes,
it
yes.
would scare me to death. But we serve a God where nothing is too hard for him.
Nothing. Nothing.
And I could, if you ain't careful, I could start preaching.
What's a but God type of moment?
Yes.
But God type of moment. Well, I'm going to preach. I'll make it real quick.
Go right ahead.
Go ahead.
Jeremiah 32.
Okay.
Okay.
Jeremiah is being held captive in the courtyard of the king. He had been prophesying for a period of time that the Babylonians are coming. You're going to lose. We're going into exile. You're going to lose.
You're going to lose.
The siege ramps were already built against the walls of the city. The Babylonians were already there. And God told Jeremiah, your cousin Hananiah's coming, buy his land.
Buy his land.
In the midst of all this going on.
Yeah, saying, you fixing to leave here, but
Yes.
take your silver and buy this
Wow.
land.
Okay.
And so you kind of process all that. Well, how much sense does that make? And in my own personal study, I was a contractor, real estate guy professionally, and I'm like, okay, God, you're talking to me, but what are you saying here? Is there a project to build or what? And he said, no. Jeremiah invested in what seemed to be a hopeless situation.
Yes.
They were getting exiled, but he took his silver and bought the land because the Lord told him to. Well, you move halfway over in chapter 32, and Jeremiah gets to have one of those moments where he's saying, "Okay, God, you told me we're getting exiled. You
Yep.
told me to tell everybody we're leaving.
Right.
You told me to buy the land, and I bought the land."
Yes.
And Jeremiah says, "I don't understand." And the Lord's response was, "Is anything too hard for me?
God to work out. That was a high moment.
Is anything too hard?
Anything
Is anything too hard for me?"
Yeah.
And you move further down in that chapter, which is this is where Jeremiah's prophesying to the future that the verse, and I can't tell you which verse it is, refers to the people having a singleness of heart and action. Unity. Singleness of heart and action. And so I'm just convinced we can look at the destruction and restoration of Jerusalem and all the great examples in Scripture.
Yes.
If we want to find a way out to restore Jackson, the blueprint's there.
Already there.
A lot of decisions to make. I'm not saying any of it's
Yes,
easy.
yes.
But why don't we just learn from what's already worked?
It's already a template available for us.
That's right. That's
We
right.
just need somebody to help assist us in knowing where it is, turning the pages,
Yes.
and putting some sweat equity on it.
And getting to be a part of the process.
And also bringing folks off the bleachers that may not feel like they have a point of concern. What's the term you said? Common concern?
Moving beyond the boundary of your own
Moving
concern.
beyond the boundary of
your own concern.
And you know, and you were talking about putting pressure on the faith community.
Well,
When I
pressure.
do that, I mean I'm pointing at myself as well.
Right.
But I've frequently I tell my church friends, you know, if Jesus showed up in Jackson, he's not going to be sitting in our sanctuary.
I was always up under the mindset that if we get the faith-based community together, we could do some major projects. Like, for instance, if we had a grocery store, right, in South Jackson.
Truth.
You have all these different churches with all the different members and all the different ties, all the different streams of income. But how can you transfer that over to business where you can get them to see that model? It's been done in other cities where they've got cooperative economics, different type of project together, and they work. The faith-based community has a lot of power, but we're so disconnected.
We are disconnected. I don't know if you guys know Cameron Tate, Bridging the Gap Ministries.
No, sir.
Y'all need to get to know him.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. That's going to be through you, right?
Anyway,
Okay.
I mean, he's way beyond what I've been able to accomplish in the community myself.
Okay.
But what he does, Bridging the Gap, he bridges the churches together. He builds coalitions in parts of Jackson so that the churches are together, meeting and working on projects together.
Yes.
Great young man.
And you know what, Coach? We don't, we think of the brick and mortar. We're going to challenge ourselves a little something. Let's just build some community gardens.
Yeah.
Strategically.
Something very smart, simple.
Create some community gardens throughout the city to get our youth, get our elders back engaged, get our mid folks. Because I asked my dad, I said, why don't I know how to grow tomatoes? Why don't I know how to pick out a suit? He said, because you was in the streets. I said, well, you know what? You got a point there. So he's saying, but you can't go and learn it now. So let's do something simple with our community-based brick and mortars. Let's do some community gardens throughout the area.
Something that would build more relationships and start conversations.
Yeah, one of my favorite pastors is Tony Evans, and in his conversations on racial racial reconciliation and things such as that, is that we'll never solve it sitting in a seminar. We're going to solve it by serving together.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's true.
Shoulder to shoulder, sweating a little bit.
Right.
And it's not, sure, you're accomplishing a project, but while you're working together, you're getting to know each other.
You sure are. You sure are. Okay, we got another test there for you, sir.
All right. The real flex is learning to raise your emotional intelligence so toxic people can't play mind games with you, learning to pause before reacting so manipulators can't disrespect you and blame you for your negative reactions, and learning to say no so takers can't take from you. That's powerful. And going into this political process I'm in, consistent prayer is, Lord, may I always represent you well.
Lord, may I always.
Because I know people going to jab me, and people going to try to pull something out of me, and I never want to be the one that reacts in a way that's not honoring to him.
I haven't seen it. Yes, sir. I have not seen it. I want to commend you, and I've commended quite a few of the candidates that came out of the bleachers down into the arena. You all have really held up well as far as not just poking and jabbing at each other.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think the process has gone well.
Okay. Is there anything that we can do as a community? And we spoke on this off the camera, that we each get one bubble. How can we maintain our level of focusing on our bubble? And I noticed that, right after the Democratic race, you had 50-some thousand people that didn't show up, and it seemed like the bullying was going on toward the 20,000 that did show up. How can community focus on, or how can we as an individual focus on our bubble?
A little different twist on that.
Okay.
Is when I started the ministry of presence, just moving around,
Okay.
we end up living in a bubble.
Okay.
Where we work, who our friends are, where we worship.
Yes.
And so the way, and I was able to share this at Pastor Divinity's church one Saturday, is that that this effort of having a ministry of presence and going places that wasn't within my bubble, I broke out of my bubble. But what I found was the air's really fresh outside the bubble.
You can still breathe.
Oh, it's better.
You can still breathe.
Yeah, way better.
You're not choking.
It's fresh air. You think about how stagnant the air can be inside a bubble.
Oh, that's a different way of looking at it.
So let's break
Never
out
looked at it like that.
and how fresh it is.
Fresh.
And
I like
so
that,
I think the challenge is we break out of our bubble. We make our bubbles larger, so maybe they overlap with a few more people.
Yes.
And it's just been it's been the joy of my life.
Coach, I'm going to have to take back the things I said about Mr. Dupree. Take them back. I'll be the first one. It's been well worth getting you here.
Yes.
You know, watching you on stage and watching you. I got a picture on your promo. Everywhere I look, you got a microphone. So I think we're going to replace that when you become mayor. We're going to put a megaphone in your hand.
Well,
all right, we got another one. Coach, can I give you another one?
I think that's it.
Okay, hold on.
I got to approve it first.
Okay, please approve it, sir.
Oh,
you just came back off the wall.
Oh, I like that.
yeah,
Please
is
I like
he
that.
throwing me something now?
Okay.
I like that one. It's one of my favorite ones.
Remember that hard work is a choice.
It's a choice.
Attitude is a choice. Discipline is a choice. Doing extra is a choice. Excellence is a choice. There are no shortcuts for success.
None.
You got to work for it.
Is that on there? Did you add that?
It says you must work for it.
Okay.
I didn't like must. I mean, gotta. You got to work
You
for
gotta
it.
work
It's
for it.
mandatory.
Yeah.
Go ahead and reflect on that. Then we'll bounce. Coach, you get a question. Not a question, but we'll have a comment.
Comment.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, just
All
read
right,
it.
baby.
Hard work, attitude, discipline, doing extra, not just enough to get by.
That's it. That's
You
it.
know?
Minimizing it. Go
No,
ahead.
no. Excellence is a choice, and I think we sell our city short. You know, the very first temptation of man in the garden was focusing on lack,
Yes.
because they had to walk through the abundance of the
yes.
garden to get to the one tree that they couldn't have.
Wow.
And so all their attention was on what they were lacking rather than the abundance around
You know,
them.
when I envision that, Brother Dupree, I'm going to brother now.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the tree is like in the middle of the yard.
No,
It's in the middle of the
It-
garden.
It's in the middle of the garden.
Yeah.
But you said they had to walk.
it was a journey.
It's a journey.
That's it.
It's surrounded by abundance and
Yes.
good things. And
Couldn't
don't
see
get me
it.
wrong, we have lack in our city.
Yes.
But let's don't get so focused on
The
it that we
lack.
miss the abundance. We miss the people, that we miss the good things that we have here that we need to protect and we need to improve.
And what church are you pastoring on Sunday? I might need to get me some of that.
Well, I'm a member at First Baptist Church Jackson. That's
Okay.
where I go to church.
Okay.
Now, for 4 years now, I've had the privilege of being in churches all over the city.
So wherever your vehicle is, that's where church is.
And it has been a blessing.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And I just got something. I'm thinking that the tree is like they're laying up under a tree,
No.
and they can see the tree that they
That's
want.
that's the image they created.
That's the image.
No, it was a path, a journey to get there,
Okay.
man.
So they had to go many days and many months to get to. That's all they could think about was getting over there to where they weren't supposed to be.
And when they got to the land of Oz, they didn't know exactly what was going to happen.
Yes, sir. What? I got 5 minutes. Okay. I think it's time for us to end this one. I think I'm gonna end on this one. I got two. All right. I got 5 minutes. Thank you.
You excited? Look at he's so excited.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you see how Mr. Washington said, "You finna pull another one out"? I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Two is better than one.
Two is better than one.
Okay. Mindset is everything. The difference between a good day and a bad day is your attitude. Your mind is a powerful thing. When you fill it with positive thoughts, your life will start to change. Consciousness is the state of being aware of and responsive to one's surroundings. To shift your life, you must first shift your mindset. Believe you can, and you're halfway there. Just get started.
Just get started.
Just get started.
Just get started.
Don't focus on the things I can't do.
Ooh wee.
and work on the few things I can. You know, the best example I have of that, and you know, Ronnie Crudup Jr., Representative Crudup, is a dear friend of mine.
Yes, sir.
And we're in a Thursday morning group together, and his frustration built for the lack of recreation in South Jackson for young people, and the lack of money coming in to help do that from a state level.
Right.
And so he just got started. What he has is the Ark now. I mean, we walked in there together, and it's the old Sam's Club, had a bunch of furniture in it. And he didn't have the money to get it all done, but he got started.
Yes, sir.
And once he did, the resources started flowing, and people who he had built trust with over time started contributing. And if you hadn't seen it, you need to go see it. It's amazing.
State
You
art
need to
facility.
know that it just didn't pop up.
No.
Oh,
It's a
no,
state-of-the-art
no,
facility.
no. I mean, that brother has worked and worked and worked. And it wouldn't have ever happened if he hadn't been for years building credibility that he's someone that can be trusted.
Yes, it.
Ooh,
That's
that means
it.
a lot. Okay, we got one more. Got 2 minutes.
All right.
Right ahead. We're closing out. We want to definitely thank Rodney DePriest. He's running as an independent mayoral candidate June 3rd. You still got some more forums to participate in.
One more Tuesday evening.
Yes, sir. That's the Alpha Kappa Alpha organization.
Yeah, at Anderson United Methodist.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
Teacher, what does it mean to work on yourself? It is to stop waiting for the others to change.
Hit it one more time.
I mean, it is to stop waiting for others to change. That's really my attitude when you look at the city of Jackson. When we want to look for what maybe the state should be or should have been doing and everything else, let's focus on ourselves.
Yes.
Let's figure out what we could have done better. Let's demonstrate that we are managing our affairs well, that we have learned some lessons from prior mistakes. And by focusing on ourselves and improving those things, we're going to build that trust. We're going to expand that credibility to where I think more people are ready to be part of the team helping Jackson.
Rodney DePriest, Community Conversation. Mr. Bill Washington, a.k.a. the Godfather. We just can't thank you gentlemen enough for taking time to come in and love on us, to pour into us, to teach us, to inform us, and to share. That we all have a purpose and a reason to get up every day and put that work in.
We got it.
Put that work in. Anything you like, how can they follow you, and what does the community need to do to surround you with the love and the passion that you're pouring out into the community?
Well, let's get outside of our bubble, make our bubble bigger.
Okay.
Look for opportunities to help. Vote on June 3rd. You know, if you're a person of faith, pray about who you vote for. Pray about who you vote for.
Say it again.
And if the Lord puts another candidate on your heart, guess what? I'm okay with that. Follow where the Lord leads you in this process. But let's vote on June 3rd. If you want to see more about us, DePriest4Mayor.com, that's our website. Rodney DePriest for Mayor on Facebook. That's all there. And we just look forward to the next 9-10 days.
Okay.
And June 3rd, that's the day. There will be no runoffs.
Yes, sir.
The most votes on June 3rd wins. That's it.
Well, we want to thank your family for sharing you
Yes,
with
yes.
community, for giving us something to aspire and be inspired by. And blaming and shaming is not the answer.
That's not the answer.
Okay.
It's not.
Community Conversation with Community Strong Fort Jackson MS with our very own, the next mayor of the city of Jackson, Rodney
DePriest.
All right. You guys have a great Sunday. Know this. Every now and then someone comes along and shows you who you are and what you might become. It's a matter of being in the right place at the right time. But it does not happen to everyone. Mr. Priest, thank you for being our everyone.
Well, thank you for having me here today, and I look forward to more conversations.
On the couch.
On the couch.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. We're going to get this picture, and then we're going to get you out of here.
And it come with some mental power for an hour with some knowledge come to count. Important people live in topics, not that
That's why you must have saw me take a breath. I'm going to dig in for